Breaking right now on Atlanta Alive, an officer rushed to the hospital after being shot overnight in Fulton County. We've got live team coverage with the very latest on this investigation. Plus, new this morning, a major security flaw putting just about anyone with an Apple or Android phone at risk. And a traffic alert as heavy fog rolls in this morning. We're checking the road cameras and gauges to show you the biggest trouble spots on the roads right now.
It's Wednesday, March 4th. This is Atlanta Alive with Vinnie Politan.
Welcome to Atlanta Live, and we're switching up our format this morning because we have some breaking news we need to bring to you right away. A Fulton County police officer, we've just learned, has been killed in an overnight shooting. We have team coverage for you this morning. Jerry Carnes live at the hospital, Grady Hospital, where the suspect is now being treated. But first, we have Caitlin Ross live in Fairburn, where all this played out. And Caitlin, police just released more information moments ago. Please give us the latest this morning.
Vinny, the assistant police chief just told us that a Fulton County police officer was killed in the line of duty. They say he was shot in the head looking for a suspect after 911 calls came in to this neighborhood. Police say that they started receiving dozens of 911 calls around 12:42 a.m. The first officer was on the scene just a minute later. Officers started combing the subdivision looking for this suspect. They started getting 911 reports from neighbors saying that this gunman was going door to door firing his weapon. As police were looking all throughout the subdivision, one of those police officers was shot in the head. That first officer down call came at 1:30 in the morning. Police say they rushed him to Grady Hospital, but there really was nothing that they could do. Fulton County police officers did manage to shoot that suspect. We don't know his condition right now. We do know that he's in custody at Grady Hospital. The assistant police chief says this is just a horrifying situation.
The officers heard shots. They were looking in this neighborhood. At some point, the suspect fired on him without warning, and our officer was struck.
Now, we do want to stress that they're not looking for any additional suspects this morning. They say it was just that one person who's now at Grady Hospital. The investigation will continue for the rest of the morning. The police chief says he expects to be on the scene for hours, Vinny.
All right, Caitlin Ross on the scene. I know you're going to stay there all morning long and get us more information, Caitlin. Now let's go to Grady Hospital. That's where the officer was taken and the suspect. Jerry Carnes is there. Jerry, what are you learning at Grady this morning?
Good morning, Vinny. We are working right now to try to learn more about the condition of that suspect. Nothing on that so far. Of course, now a very somber mood has settled over Grady Hospital. Dozens of Fulton County police cars parked around the emergency room as those police officers are just now learning that their co-worker has passed away from his wounds. I want to show you some video shot from a DOT camera early this morning as the ambulance with that police officer made its way toward Grady Hospital. As you can see, it had an escort, at least 5 police officers escorting that ambulance and the wounded police officer here to Grady Hospital. Of course, that officer was shot in the head. We learned just a short time ago that the officer passed away from his wounds. Doctors did their best to try to help him, but officer did pass away here at Grady Hospital. Again, dozens of police officers here, Fulton County police officers here. We've seen their cars surrounding the emergency room. We've seen them continue to arrive as the morning has progressed. We've seen a few of them leaving, of course, very upset about what has happened here. Again, we are continuing to try to learn more about the condition of this suspect, and we'll bring you more on that as we learn it. Back to you.
All right, Jerry Carnes at Grady this morning. Thank you so much, Jerry. And of course, we're going to stay on top of the story all morning long. You can go to 11alive.com or check out our mobile app for up-to-the-minute developments as we learn them. Our other big story this morning is the weather and traffic. Heavy fog this morning as people head into work. And, you know, there's a somber mood over the city, and I think the fog almost appropriate on this morning where we're learning what we are about this officer who's lost his life, Crash.
Yeah, very sad story indeed, Vinny, and it just does kind of add to the gloomy start to your rush hour, and that's what we're going to have to deal with. We're going to have to deal with some fog out there and even some slick streets, too, from some of that rain we've been getting. Right now, no major impact on the big three as we check them here, 75, 485 in the green from the northern burbs, but let me show you a live shot. This is Georgia 400 up at Highway 20 incoming, and there's nothing wrong with that camera. Look at those cars as they come through that fog. Very thick out there, very low visibility. Fred McFarland will take you to the east side.
Yeah, we're working very closely with Chesley, as we always do, to watch his radar to see how this fog, as well as possible rain later on, that could affect your ride back home after work today. Right now, things looking pretty good on the east side. 20 westbound, Highway 20 to 285, all clear. Up the east wall, as we call it, 285 from I-20 up to Spaghetti Junction. Moving fine. It's a green ride and no problems that we can see right now on the Stone Mountain Freeway. Back to you.
All right, thanks a lot, Fred. We got a dense fog advisory. It will last until 10 a.m. You can see our county shaded in the gray here from Gilmer, Fanning County all the way down to Cobb County over to Henry County eastward. But it's even outside of this area that we could see still some foggy spots. So be very careful as you're driving along. The impacts will be low visibility. We're talking a quarter mile or less in some spots. Here you are. You can see we're reduced to a quarter of a mile right now in Atlanta, down through Peachtree City, over to Carrollton, Athens as well. Normal visibility would be around 10. We have that up there in the northwestern corner, but we're down to a mile in Clanton and also down to a mile in Duluth. Now, as far as the rain goes, most of that has moved out of the area. We do have mostly cloudy skies out here. We'll see isolated showers right on through the rest of the afternoon with more steady rain coming in later through the overnight. 7 today on the wazometer, and look at these warm temperatures. 70 degrees will be your forecast high, but again, only a 7 because we'll have the cloudy skies and the potential for that rain to be around. Vinny, back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Chesley. And there's a second breaking news story that we're following right now, but this one with a much different ending. This 11-year-old boy was found safe in Clayton County after being missing. Jay Watson has been gathering all of the latest information. And Jay, this young boy missing for hours, what have you learned?
What we know this morning, obviously, Vinny, what you said, the good news, the 11-year-old boy has been found safe. Clayton County Police say that he was missing since yesterday afternoon, but they cannot give any additional information at this time. Now, we were told to contact the school police, but the school police PIO says they don't know anything yet. It was just before 10 o'clock last night when Clayton Police sent out the alert about the missing boy, who was last seen near the Eddie White Academy in Hampton, Georgia. We learned shortly before 4 a.m. this morning that the boy has been found. He is safe this morning, but no more details are going to be released at this time. Vinny, we'll send it back to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Jay. It has been nearly 2 years since 2 bombs exploded near the Boston Marathon finish line. This morning, the trial begins for one of the men believed to be behind this attack. NBC's Jay Gray joins us live from Boston this morning. And Jay, this may be the most emotional trial that city has ever encountered.
Yeah, Vinny, I think you're absolutely right. Going to be very difficult for the city. When you talk to a lot of people who are in the area where the bombing took place, and obviously this affected so many here, they admit it's going to be very difficult, but it's something they feel like they must get through. It starts today with opening statements from the prosecution and defense. Dzhokhar Tsarnaev faces 30 charges here, 17 of those punishable by the death penalty. In those opening statements, prosecutors will likely try and overwhelm this jury from the start, just describing the magnitude of the attack and all that was lost here. 3 people dead, 16 people maimed, more than 260 injured. As for the defense, they'll likely try and shift the focus to Dzhokhar Tsarnaev's brother Tamerlan, his older brother. Their fight here really isn't about guilt or innocence. It's more trying to keep Dzhokhar Tsarnaev alive, avoiding the death penalty here. They'll say that he was following his older brother's lead, that he wanted to do anything he could to please someone he idolized, and that he was merely a puppet in all of this. It's a strategy that a lot of analysts say will be difficult to pull off here, but it's one that they feel like is the only direction the defense can go in trying to save his life. Again, this is a trial that could last 3 to 4 months. Vinny, what that means is it no doubt will be going on Monday, April 20th. That's the date of this year's Boston Marathon. Back to you.
Jay Gray in Boston this morning. Thanks so much, Jay. Appreciate it.
Yep.
New this morning, a security flaw putting most of us in danger. Tracy Humphrey is joining us now. And Tracy, this flaw is called Freak.
Yeah, crazy
Freak.
name because it's kind of crazy. If you use an Apple computer, if you have an iPhone or even an Android device, your information is at risk. Take a look at this. This is a stack of 96 pages of paper. Now, on each page are dozens of websites. Now, we only printed out 96 pages. Actually, there are a possible 1,053. The concern is that this security flaw leaves your information vulnerable to hackers when you go to any of these websites. Freak, as it is called, affects anyone using a Safari browser or the default Android browser, but not Google Chrome. Some websites that remain on this list, you won't believe this, Vinny, NSA.gov, American Express, Marriott, and J.Crew. The scariest part about this is some cybersecurity researchers think your information has actually been at risk for decades. And according to a report by Mashable, Apple will be releasing a fix next week, and Google is also currently working on one. I think the concern is with the websites like NSA.gov and J.Crew, everyone at some point probably goes to a lot of those websites.
Absolutely. This is scary. I mean, it's another one of these. Unbelievable. Thanks so much, Tracy. Appreciate it. This morning, a former UGA student charged with making terroristic threats will be in court. Police Ariel Arias posted the threat to the school and its students on the social media app Yik Yak back in September. Authorities were forced to evacuate the Miller Learning Center, but later learned it was all a prank. The U.S. Supreme Court will take a third look at Obamacare today. This time the justices are hearing a challenge that focuses on who's eligible for federal tax subsidies intended to make health coverage affordable. The Urban Institute estimates 8.2 million Americans would be left uninsured if the Supreme Court decides people who used the federal exchange aren't eligible for tax credits. An NBC News poll found if the court strikes down those subsidies, 54% of Americans want Congress to fix the law so those subsidies continue. It's 5:11, time for traffic and weather on the ones. And Kresh, how are we looking downtown through all this fog?
You know, it's interesting, Vinny, if you take a look when Chesley does his weather, you could see such a fine line between where that fog is and then where, well, we're not seeing a whole lot of it. And downtown happens to be one of those areas right now. The connector north and south in great shape, a lot of green, which means speed limit rides. Same thing with the I-20s. But I want to focus on some construction that's starting today, 9 o'clock this morning on Northside Drive between West Wesley and 75. They'll be doing some barrier work there as well. So it could get a little busy. There's 75 at Peachtree Battle. As you can see, no fog. Fred McFarland to the west side.
Thank you very much, Crash. And so far, things are looking pretty good. Got Hero Unit helping out a motorist, 285 northbound at Bolton Road on the west side. Coming in from Douglasville, it's a clean ride, 63 miles an hour. Take you about 9 minutes to get from Lee Road to the perimeter, and from I-20 up to the Cobb Cloveleaf, about 10 minutes. Vinny?
All right, Chesley, how's any rain today?
Yeah, there is a possibility for some rain. I want to walk you through today. This is our forecast track model. It shows, again, some isolated showers around for this morning through this afternoon. Very, very isolated. For the most part, you won't see any at all. It won't be until later on tonight that the line of showers, possibly some thunderstorms in the northwestern counties, will move into the state. It weakens as it makes its way down toward Atlanta, so it won't be until the overnight that we'll see the steady rain around, and then notice what happens. Cold air will move in, so a little bit of pink mixing in up there to the north. Won't be much to write home about at all. Just a little mixing as the temperatures continue to drop. But I do think you'll love the weekend forecast. Saturday, you're looking at 55 degrees for the high temperature, a 10 on the wazometer, mostly sunny skies. And then there's Sunday, we're looking at 58 degrees for the high and a 10 on the wazometer as well.
Nice weekend. Something to look forward to today.
Absolutely.
Appreciate that. All right, if you're just joining us, folks, we continue to follow some really heartbreaking news this morning. We just learned within the last half hour, a Fulton County police officer has died after being shot overnight. The suspect, also wounded, is in the hospital right now. Our crews are working their sources to bring us the very latest on this investigation. Plus, a major letdown this morning for same-sex couples fighting for the right to marry, while one state is being ordered to stop issuing marriage licenses just weeks after it started handing them out. We want to quickly update you on today's top story. A Fulton County officer died after being shot in Fairburn overnight. Here's a look at video from the scene near Cedar Grove Road and Parks Trail. We're still trying to collect more information. The officer down call came around 1:30 this morning. The suspect was also shot and is now at Grady. Happening now, police in Gwinnett County are trying to figure out why a man pulled a gun on an officer. It took place at this home on Jackson Shoals Creek in Lawrenceville. Police were investigating a previous incident. When the suspect came home, the man pulled out a gun and police opened fire, killing him. No one else was hurt. This morning, we are still waiting for Governor Deal to sit down with the 11 Alive investigators to talk about Georgia's broken 911 system. We started asking questions after the death of Chanel Anderson. She died spending her last breaths trying to help 911 dispatchers find her sinking SUV. Chanel's mother wants Governor Deal to act on this 99-page report produced by his own 911 Modernization Commission. The panel called for statewide audits of the phone companies, repealing the state law that allows those companies to bill 911 centers for millions of dollars in 911 fees, and the creation of a state emergency communications board.
Your commission recommended that there be a state agency that oversees 911. Are you in favor of that?
Well, I haven't made a decision on that. I think we have supervision now on 911 in terms of trying to coordinate activities.
A permanent 911 advisory committee mandated by Georgia law has not met in years. The governor's temporary commission laid out serious problems with 911, but rather than acting on this proposed solution, the governor is leaving the fix to the cell phone companies. And as you're waking up this morning, make sure to give yourself some extra time to get to work. We have that dense fog advisory in effect right now, Chesley.
Yep, that dense fog advisory will last until 10 a.m. Expecting that fog to push out of the area, but the rain will be around as well. We got temperatures up to 70 degrees, but only a 7 on the wasometer. We got that for you, plus the potential for a wintry mix in the area and a beautiful weekend forecast coming up. Stay with us.
Time now for traffic and weather on the ones with meteorologist Chesley McNeil.
Yes, we have a 7 on the wasometer today. Some heavy fog this morning, some rumblings of thunder perhaps tonight before the big drop in temperature?
Yes, that's all headed our way. Yeah, a lot of changes here in the next 24 to 48 hours. We'll be looking at fog for the area this morning. You can see we have that dense fog advisory. It's all our counties shaded in the gray, from Gilmer and Fanning County down to Cobb County, over to Fulton County, down through Henry County eastward. That's where we have this dense fog advisory. Will last until 10 a.m. And you're talking about reduced visibilities, of course, and visibility is reduced to a quarter mile or less. But even outside of the advised areas, we're still dealing with problems like Peachtree City, for example. You're down to a quarter of a mile there, down in Thomaston, Atlanta, over toward Athens we have it, down to a half mile in Marietta, down to a mile in a lot of spots like Blairsville, Canton, Duluth, Carrollton, even over toward Eatonton. Perfect visibility or good visibility would be up toward the northwest, around 10, so you can see how greatly that is reduced. We had some showers move through our northwestern counties, Dade, Walker County now sliding up toward Tennessee, so no rain out there right now. We're going to keep the chance for some isolated showers in the forecast through this afternoon, and then later on tonight is when we'll see that steady rain move in. 7 on the wazometer today, temperatures getting close to 70 degrees for this afternoon, well above our average, but again, with the clouds and the rain, it won't be a beautiful day. Notice the Storm Prediction Center out of Norman, Oklahoma has an area of general thunderstorms possible for the extreme northwestern corner of the state. That's when later on tonight we'll see that cold front get a little closer. That's where we could hear the claps of thunder as it makes its way down toward the metro area. Will start to dissipate. Again, we'll keep the chance for isolated showers in the forecast through this afternoon. When you drive home, starts to increase just a little bit, but it won't be until after 8 o'clock when we'll start to see that line begin to move into the area as it makes its way down toward the metro area. Notice it just begins to dissipate. So we'll see some scattered showers right on through the overnight. It's going to be a wet commute for us in the morning. Temperatures will fall behind that front. And so you notice the little mixing taking place up here to the north. It'll be very light, but we could see some sleet, maybe some freezing rain begin to mix in even through the afternoon in our northernmost counties. Again, won't make it down to the metro area. Temperatures will be just a little bit too warm. And I think we'll be falling through the 40s through the day. Even though I have 52 degrees for a high temperature tomorrow, that'll be early on. We'll see those temperatures drop during the day. 48 degrees on Friday. Look at this weekend. 55 degrees on Saturday, mostly sunny skies, mostly sunny again on Sunday. Beautiful, 58 degrees for the high temperature. Let's get a check on that traffic now with Crash and Fred. How's that fog affecting the traffic, fellas?
Well, the fog, you know, it's funny, watching your maps, it all depends on where you are, Chesley, with that fog. And I don't know if yesterday afternoon had anything to do with it, but boy, if you caught our 5 o'clock news yesterday, we were all over that overturned tractor trailer on the top end perimeter. What a difference a day makes. There's your top end this morning, 285 east and westbound, inner or outer loop. It's all in the green, 55 miles an hour. No worries whatsoever. There's a live look, and there's that fog. That's the top end as you approach Sandy Springs, and you could see some low visibility out there. All right, Fred McFarland, let's get out of town.
Yeah, let's go to the airport. Getting there, give yourself a few extra minutes because of the low visibility in spots, but mostly a green ride, 55 miles an hour through the city, coming in from the northern suburbs, down around the airport, all clear. Hartsfield Jackson just reporting cloudy and 50 degrees, but I did look through traffic cameras, Virginia Avenue and Riverdale Road, and it does look like there is some fog in the area, so call your airline. Up to the minute updates on Twitter at 11 Live Traffic. 11 Live app has a traffic tab. Vinny?
All right, thank you, Fred. The Alabama Supreme Court defies a federal ruling and orders judges to stop issuing marriage licenses to same-sex couples. The court says Alabama has defined marriage as between a man and a woman for about 200 years. It says a federal court used sleight of hand in a case that resulted in most of Alabama allowing gay marriage just last month. And we have 3 sports stories trending this morning. Tracy is here with that. And Tracy, the first is a fight amongst cheerleaders, and we've got video of this?
I know. When you think of fights in sports, I think of hockey. I don't think of cheerleaders, but yeah, there was a big fight going on. This video was posted on Twitter from the Albany State and Tuskegee University basketball game last night in Birmingham. Cheerleaders from both teams were involved in a fight at halftime of the SIAC tournament game. Tournament officials released a statement overnight banning the cheerleaders and dance squads from both teams from the rest of the tournament. And your Atlanta Hawks tweeted this out following their win against Houston. We're in, baby. I added the baby. They became the first NBA team to clinch a playoff spot. They did it with a 104-96 win over the Rockets in front of a sellout crowd at Phillips Arena. And finally, UGA's bid to shock the college basketball world, it fell short last night in Athens. They lost to the #1 ranked Kentucky Wildcats 72-64. The Bulldogs let a 9-point lead slip away in the second half. The Wildcats remain perfect at 30-0. Vinny, the Dogs will close out the regular season on Saturday, but bracket experts say looks like they will at least get into the NCAA tournament.
And they could do some damage. I mean, that was a strong showing against Kentucky last night.
And Kentucky's strong, so that says a lot.
Really strong. And the crowd was into it, too.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks so much.
See ya.
Coming up on Atlanta Live, we're breaking news this morning. Fulton County police officer killed overnight. We have all the details on what happened. Caitlin Ross digging into it, as well as
to do something about it. But my grandma would tell me it's not my fault, it's just a child at the time.
Plus, for the first time, we're hearing from a local family as they search for their mom's killer. This brother and sister, just toddlers when they witnessed the crime. Could their memories finally help crack this Georgia mystery? Breaking right now, an absolutely heartbreaking story as we learn a Fulton County police officer was shot and killed overnight. Here's what we've just learned. Police were sent out to a house in Fairburn where they encountered a man with a gun and several shots were fired. One of the officers was hit and rushed to Grady, but sadly, we've just learned that he has passed away. The suspect, also wounded, is in the hospital right now. Meanwhile, police are going door to door right now, making sure no one else in the neighborhood was hurt because that suspect was banging on doors earlier. Right now, we have crews at the crime scene and at Grady, and we'll be checking in with them in just a moment. But first, Crash talking about a traffic alert with some heavy fog rolling in right now.
Yeah, and we're seeing that on all our DOT cameras too, Vinny. We're seeing a lot of fog out there, folks. Very low visibility, so keep those low beams on. Watch the speed. Right here, we've got the big three, and it's pretty much a speed limit ride. 75, no troubles out of Cobb, Canton, and Cherokee. Georgia 400 as far up as Cumming, where we saw a lot of the fog all the way into Buckhead, and no troubles for the Gwinnetians. 316 on down to the perimeter. Let me show you a live look. This is 85 at Pleasant Hill, and you can see through the camera there a lot of fog and some pretty good traffic starting to build filled up as well. All right, Fred McFarland, let's go to the south side.
So far, so good down there, Crash. Henry, Clayton County, can't forget about you, Butts, even Lamar County. We love you. Barnesville, Hudson Bridge Road to 285, about a 14-minute ride on 75 northbound. And that green ride continues all the way to the downtown connector, 675, no problems right now. Take you about 10 minutes to get from 75 up to I-285. We'll tweet all this out.
Thanks a lot, Fred. Yeah, we're looking at that fog advisory lasting until 10 a.m., mainly for our eastern counties. We'll say from Atlanta City over toward the east, over toward Athens, down through Macon. But it's even outside the advised areas where you will run into some problems, some low visibility. Even visibility is reduced to a quarter of a mile. You see that down in Thomaston, 2.5 miles over toward Peachtree City, a quarter of a mile right now in Atlanta and Athens, down to a half mile also in Marietta. So be careful as you're driving around. That fog will burn off by mid-morning. Then we'll be looking for some isolated showers to pop up. Had a few up in the northwestern counties, but around moved out. We do have mostly cloudy skies out there right now. The steadier rain comes in later on tonight. So for today, you're looking at mostly cloudy skies. Again, the isolated showers, we'll give it a 7 on the wasometer, but very warm out there. Temperatures right near 70 degrees. We've got a beautiful weekend on tap. We're going to talk more about that in the full forecast coming up. Vinny, back to you.
All right, thank you, Chesley. Now to the latest on our top story. An officer shot and killed while responding to a call in Fairburn. Caitlin Ross live at the scene. The area is still very active. And Caitlin, what are police telling you right now at this hour?
Vinny, I can tell you we just found out that this was a veteran police officer killed with many years on the force. The Fulton County Sheriff is not yet identifying him, but say that he's been serving this police force for a very long time. We know he died when he was shot in the head after a 911 call in this neighborhood. If you take a look, you can see the investigation still very active right now. Dozens of police officers combing the neighborhood. We know that the 911 call came in at 12:42. Police officers arrived on the scene just a minute later. They knew that the suspect was out somewhere here in this subdivision. They were getting a ton of calls from neighbors saying that he was banging on their door, firing his gun in the neighborhood. Police say they reacted as quickly as they could.
More officers arrived and they began looking in the neighborhood. 911 started receiving more calls of shots fired. Officers heard shots fired. They were searching the neighborhood for the suspect, and at some point the officers who were searching came under fire without warning.
He described this basically as an ambush, said his officers were fired on without any warning. That's when the one officer was hit. That call for the officer down came in at 1:30 in the morning. The ambulance got here as quickly as they could and transported that officer to Grady. But Vinny, like I said, he was shot in the head. There was very little emergency personnel could do.
All right, Caitlin Ross at the scene this morning. Thanks so much, Caitlin. And we'll be updating you the moment we learn any new information. If you're not near the TV, you can check out 11alive.com or our free mobile app.
They kicked her, they beat her.
It was August of 2000 when her daughter Lanisha was brutally murdered inside her Carrollton home.
They tell me every night what happened, how they did their mama.
There were some guys that were going to her house and also wanted me to come up there. But I didn't go, and it was like 11:15, 11:30 at night. And that was our last conversation.
This week, we've been taking a closer look at the unsolved murder of Lanisha Crowder. For more than 14 years, her killer or killers have been free. All this while her 2 children grow up without a mom and without justice. DeMarco Morgan sat down with both of Lanisha's children to see what they remember and how they've dealt with witnessing the murder of their own mother. Kenneth Crowder was 7 years old when Lanisha was killed. He himself was almost murdered. He was left for dead, but miraculously survived the attack. It left him scarred, and today he still suffers from traumatic